This is 102.7 Chop FM, and you're about to hear ArtsTalk. Good evening. You're listening to 102.7 Chop FM, and this is ArtsTalk. I'm Dave Peters.
I'm Taylor Koss.
And this show is dedicated to bringing the arts to Newmarket.
Woo!
Both the musical arts, and there are so many musicians in Newmarket. You swing a dead cat, you'll hit a musician. But not just the musical arts here on ArtsTalk. Any artist practicing any discipline. Be they... It's dead cats. It's Halloween.
It's
dead
Halloween.
cats.
Happy Halloween.
I brought that in. Dead cats.
We said nothing about killing cats.
Sure.
We were talking about,
We said no profanity, no killing cats.
There's an acronym for the words you're not allowed to say. We won't say it right now.
Right. We won't. But
Yeah.
if you're in the arts and want to appear on this program, then we'd like to hear from you.
Yes. We want you to email us at artstalkradio102.7@gmail.com, or you can check us out on Facebook. That's facebook.com/artstalkradio. Send us a message and we will get back to you.
And don't forget to tune in every Wednesday, 6 o'clock sharp, to hear good tunes and find out what's going on in the independent arts scene.
Woohoo! Yeah.
In the general Newmarket area, the GNA.
In the GTA.
GATNA.
We're all about acronyms tonight.
GTNA.
So we have a really cool show coming up, but so we're going to be...
Well, you mean tonight or some future point?
Like coming up in like 5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes.
5 minutes. So
Right.
don't
So we're going to play some
don't
tunes.
turn
So
the dial.
Do not turn the dial. You may be thinking, hey, this show's going to be
Hey,
bad.
my
I should
car
turn the
doesn't have
dial.
a dial.
But don't.
Okay.
Because there's some really interesting... Who's coming on tonight? Who's going to be here?
Razorbath.
No way, Razorbath.
And if you don't know who Razorbath is, I know that you now want to know who Razorbath is.
Of course you do.
Yes, absolutely.
Because why would they want to take a bath in razors?
That's what we are going to ask them in about 7 minutes. So before we do that, we are just going to give a little bit of a shout out to all of the wicked people that came out. We had a lot of really cool musicians come through Newmarket the past week. We had a really cool show at the Grey Goat with Lawless Sons,
Yes.
the Anti-Queens,
Yes.
the Sick Needs, and No Big
Yes.
Deal. That was really, really cool. So make sure you're following the Grey Goat page and ArtsTalk and all that stuff so you are aware of the shows coming up in the area. We're going to listen to a little bit of music. We're going to listen to some Razorbath.
Are we?
Yeah, we are.
Razorbath has a song
Right away,
recorded?
right
No,
away, yeah.
We're just going to jump right in.
We're not even going to bother listening to anyone else.
We're going to jump into the bathtub full of razors.
Right
Is
about
that
to,
what
yeah,
we're gonna
right about now.
Right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like listening to Adam's drumming is jumping into a bathtub full of razors.
It's pretty sharp. Yeah. Okay, so this song is here's your first taste maybe of Razorbath, and this song's called Legacy of Destruction on 102.7 Chop FM.
Yeah.
That was
Legacy of Destruction.
correct. That was a test. Legacy of Destruction.
Clearly passed with honor.
By Razorbath. I was distracted because we were talking with some of the members of Razorbath. We have 75% of Razorbath here, right? So is this where we introduce them?
This is the time.
All right, so this is where we introduce. This is ArtsTalk, by the way. I'm Dave Peters.
I'm Taylor Koss.
And we are going to be...
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. In conversation with 75% of Razorbath is here tonight. We have Adam, we have John, and we have Glenn, and we're missing Jesse. Because you didn't figure... You didn't want Jesse here. There was...
He raged too hard on the weekends.
No room in the car, really.
He's sick.
No room in the car.
We got one of those little European cars with three-wheeler, 3 seats, so... You know, Jesse couldn't come. He was
Why
the odd
am I
man
sitting
out.
in the middle?
Because you're the star, John.
He the man. He the man.
John's been here before.
John has been here before.
With Weekend Jeans.
Yes.
And he needed something to do with his weekday jeans.
Yeah.
So he
jumped into a bath of razors.
Jumped into a bath of razor blades. So I don't not necessarily start by focusing on the drummer.
I don't... Yeah.
But I'm gonna.
Okay.
So while that song was playing, Adam was leaning forward and saying, "Oh, this is cool. I haven't heard this before." Which is the drum part that he actually played.
Yeah, he's always like just wigged out of his head on shrooms. So this is the first time we've had him lucid in 6 months. It's refreshing.
How does it feel? How does it
Hey,
feel,
Adam.
Amazing.
I'm Glenn. I joined the band back in August, man.
Glenn's
Good to see
kinda
you.
new.
Yeah.
You're at Pickering College right now. This band, you're in art. You're in ArtsTalk. You're
Halloween
in ArtsTalk.
2018.
You're Razorblade.
She's not a real
Oh my
bat.
goodness.
No, she's not.
Despite the ears.
No,
Fascinating, really.
just joking.
That the drummer would have been hearing his part for the first time
Oh, well, he heard the drums before. It was
on the
just,
finished product.
The mix, yeah.
Oh, the mix. That's
I
first.
did the mix, yes.
First you heard the mix.
Yes.
John's been engineering and mastering this stuff
if
back in
that's
his
what you
little
wanna call
cave,
it.
if we want to call it, for the last few days, and we haven't been allowed to broach the perimeter. So we sent Jesse in, and obviously you know what happened. He's not here. Jesse, get well soon, buddy. The leg will grow back. It will grow back. I promise. Just keep rubbing it.
He approached the perimeter and was badly hurt as a result.
It's true. So we just decided to hang back and let him bring the tunes in today, and just to see. And it's good to see that he didn't erase our parts.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks for not grolling us.
Glenn, you've never been on ArtsTalk before, have you?
No, I haven't.
I would remember this. Like,
There would have been a sign at the door, right? Yeah.
But is this the time to drill down into all of Glenn's
well, I was just gonna say
credits?
because we've had Adam Vetter's bands, a couple
We have,
bands.
yeah, a couple bands.
And
Adam's
then-
been here a couple times.
Yeah,
John's
Weekend
been here a
Jeans.
couple.
Yeah,
Been here once.
just wanted to say it.
First time
Welcome
Glenn
to
has
the
been here.
show,
Glenn's a
Glenn.
world-renowned shredder.
As long as your world is a very small place called
Yeah.
Farnbury.
If your world is the 6 square kilometers,
That's, yeah, and for many people it is. Like singers.
and let's face it, it is. And you provide entertainment to those people.
As much as possible with my clothes on.
Shall we talk about the Ace Frehley gig? No? Do you want just for fun? Talk about
It's
that?
Halloween, why not? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dress up like Ace Frehley sometimes, and
Yes,
I
you
go out
do.
and play shows.
Yeah. You guys doing
Platform
that
shoes?
this year?
Not this year, no, but a hiatus.
Next
A couple of the
maybe.
members have had recently had children and things
Right,
like that, so
yes.
they're enjoying Halloween with their kids. But we'll be back at it soon.
So
it's a
I
bit
gotta
of,
ask you a question.
ultimate cosplay.
As a teenager, I was criticized for being a Kiss fan. As a lot of teenagers were. I was a teenager in the 70s.
Who likes Kiss? Raise your hand.
I love Kiss.
Everyone raise their hand. Just
There
let
you
Mine's
it-
only
just-
halfway.
Just,
Yeah,
well,
well,
4.5.
okay.
4.5.
A lot of people
He's young.
criticize Ace Frehley's parts as being too simple, like what's your comment on that? Are Ace's
Ace
parts
is a
hard to play?
superhero of guitar. Is what he is. He's a larger than life character, for
He
gosh
is.
sakes. And that's what got me into playing that and my grandfather as a kid. It was like seeing Kiss and all that crazy stuff going on. And the point is, you would only see the album cover. You weren't getting DVDs. You weren't going to shows. So
Yeah.
the music had to deliver. And I loved the music. It was catchy as heck. You know, and for... I wasn't playing guitar back then, but I picked up a guitar. And you know what? Ace Frehley is technically not the most proficient player, but he's got a signature sound that you can't deny. You know it's him playing immediately. especially after you go through the credits and find out he didn't do half the solos on the albums that he's on anyway.
No.
Yeah, well, Ace had a habit of getting so wigged out that he wouldn't show up to the studio, so they would replace him
He
with a
has
session
substance
player.
abuse.
So yeah, a lot of
I've
like
actually
the Alice
heard a
Cooper
story.
band's
Who
guitar
played
player.
those parts? Who?
There was I forget the guy's name. He's from the Alice Cooper band. He did some stuff with them and things like that. But
Really?
basically, Kiss's credo was just because you played in the record doesn't mean you get credit. So I still think Ace is the coolest guy. Period. You know, and then he still punched out Tommy Thayer, and that's wicked.
Who's
On that note,
there?
Glenn,
Tommy Thayer took his job in Kiss.
Oh, cool. All right,
you're
that's
not
a
going to
good-
be on the back of the Razorbath record.
I know, I'm ready for that, and you know, accidentally might have to punch you someday, just for the story.
All right. I can get down with that.
I wouldn't do that. I can't. I'm a lover, not a puncher.
Let's get back to Razorbath.
Let's get back to Razorbath.
So,
yeah,
Razorbath, so-
thank for that digression.
Yeah, it's okay.
Back
Way to go,
to,
Dave.
back to the EP, or not EP. This isn't. You guys don't actually have a release out in the public right now, right?
No, that was like the debut of that song.
Beautiful.
So I think November 24th is going to be
Oh, okay.
the release. Yeah, officially.
Very, very
the
cool.
goat.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys are playing in Newmarket at the Grey Goat with a really cool lineup. It's the Speed Hums, Heart Attack Kids, and
It Cometh.
It Cometh.
Who
yeah.
are awesome.
They're
actually.
super, actually, super
Yeah,
awesome
so
and
good.
local.
And yeah, and Heart Attack Kids I played with before. They're amazing.
Yeah,
and
they're
of course,
so
the Speed
good.
Humps I can't wait to see features my
Yeah.
ex-bandmate Robbie
Oh,
from
yes!
Generation Hex, and those guys are killing
Yeah,
it.
yeah. They are really. They're doing so well. So yeah. So you hadn't heard this mix of this song.
No, these are all new.
That's
for
exciting.
everybody.
I'm
For
excited that you
everybody.
guys shared it with us. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
I think the thing that characterizes all you guys is you're kind of serial band members, right? You've all got 2 or 3 going at least
Yeah,
at the same time. True?
Yep.
sure.
Music whores.
Like to keep busy.
I wasn't.
I can say that word, right?
I don't know, but
Actually, you just did.
Probably not. Let's
Glenn needs to leave the room. I'm just kidding.
Let's
Don't
not
leave.
repeat it, Glenn. Thank you.
Once only, thank you.
Is that a thing? Why is it just a coincidence that you guys all happen to be in a bunch of different bands?
I think we all just really like music.
Yeah, and
Like
we're
different styles of music too.
Yeah.
And we're in a great music scene where you run across people in all these different genres. It reminds me of how things used to be in Montreal back in the 80s when, bands like Men Without Hats could get together with Voivod. It
Right.
didn't matter what you were playing. You're part of a bigger scene, and we all respect one another. There's some great players out there. Maybe they don't play the music that we want to hear, but they're amazingly good. And I think the more we dig in, you find guys are capable of doing more than what you just hear them playing the first time, too.
Right.
Totally.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a really good scene.
Yeah. Very
Which is
cool.
exciting.
Yes, it is.
Some people, I guess you have to be ready to deal with that. If you're the principal songwriter in a band and you're feeling a little proprietary about the members in your band, that probably is not working for you as much. If the guys are
Well, if
moving
you're
on.
looking for a niche sort of thing, you'd think that you would look for niche musicians. Like you guys are definitely all well-rounded. If you compare Weekend Jeans, well, I know that this is like your songwriting versus your drumming, John. But yeah, like they're kind of worlds apart as far as genre and.
Yeah, they are. Which I think they both share. I think we talked about this when Weekend Jeans was here.
Mm-hmm.
Like Weekend Jeans still has a bit of heaviness, so I think they share that
Definitely.
in common. But like the styles are way different,
Yeah,
and it's just
like
cool to
alternative,
have.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool to have a different outlet. Like I probably wouldn't be in a bunch of bands that all sounded the same because
For
there'd
sure.
be no point to that. So
Totally. Yeah, definitely.
So do you go into this exercise with particular objectives?
Razorbath.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I go into it with just trying to improve my songwriting. Like every song is like I'm trying to just put in as many. Yeah, I guess I should talk louder, right?
A little bit.
Or sit closer?
yeah,
okay.
you can sit closer.
So yeah, just going into it, trying to put in as many interesting parts as I can. Like I don't want to write. Like I spent a lot of time in like 3-4 chord punk bands, like melodic skate punk type stuff, and I want to write more complicated songs that are more fun to play and are just maybe more engaging for the listener as well. So not that I don't like that stuff anymore, I still love it, but just like from a playing perspective, I'm just always trying to better the last thing that I did. So
Yeah.
John, is that an idea of introducing more complexity?
not just for its own
Engagement's a good word
sake.
for it.
Sometimes maybe.
Yeah,
Not
like
good.
if you're sort no, it's like if you listen, you go to a show where it's a lot of punk bands, and then Razorbath is kind of in the middle. It kind of throws you off guard for a bit because you're just used to kind of
Yeah.
bopping your head and not having to like. You guys have kind of weird time signatures and things that kind of surprise the listener.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Change
So
what you
it's-
wouldn't expect.
Yeah,
It's unpredictable. Unpredictable.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't. This is something that Kovacs told Jesse, the other our bassist, who's not here right now, told me that people's faces are just kind of like they don't know what's going on when we start playing, and I don't really notice that because I guess I'm like too focused on whatever else. But yeah, which is cool because it's just it's something that people don't expect, and it's kind of fun that way.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Taylor and I were talking earlier tonight about songwriting and the difference between writing a song because it means something to you, it's important to you, or it makes sense to you, versus hoping somebody likes that song. And then it kind of comes up in this sort of discussion about the tunes you're writing for Razorbath.
Right.
Are you writing them for some audience, or are you writing them to satisfy something in yourself?
I think it's a bit of both. Like, I'm definitely not, first of all, I'm not a virtuoso by any means. Like, I'm just trying to write things that I think sound cool. And I also want people to like it. Like, I'm not just writing, trying to cram as many notes in as possible or something. Like, I want it to be, just really heavy and, interesting and melodic at the same time, but also, really sludgy and, doomy or thrashy or whatever, so...
Yeah.
But musical skill is an admirable thing, and I think that it's interesting because I'm of the era where prog was big.
Yeah.
And I've tried to introduce prog to Taylor.
Well,
and
thknow.
she
They're pretty
hates
progressive.
it. I know. I've played with Glenn. Glenn loves his prog.
Oh, yeah.
Loves his prog. And there's a lot to love about prog. The technical virtuosity in a lot of prog is a beautiful thing to behold. But it did become kind of self-indulgent and
Yeah, for sure.
long just for the sake of being long and hard for the sake of being hard.
For sure.
Even Rush talks about making songs so hard they themselves couldn't play them.
I'm gonna kick you off the show soon. One more Rush thing, I swear to God.
Taylor loves.
Oh man, sorry.
I was gonna say,
I went into the red there.
she always challenged me, can we get through a show without mentioning Rush? But
I said I was gonna bring up Rush, but I didn't.
On that-
Sorry.
But
sorry,
go ahead.
On that note, I think,
Yes.
see, it's too bad again that Kovacs isn't here because we kind of balance each other out in our songwriting. So he writes these really fast, thrashy, short songs, whereas I'm doing the more slow, sludgy, doomy, melodic songs, and sometimes mine get too long. And so between us, when we start collaborating, it's kind of it gets to the point where we're okay, yeah, maybe we need to throw in this contrasting part to this song, or maybe we need to not repeat this part so many times, just for the sake of making the song a bit more accessible and fun, and also the fact that we're playing maybe 30-minute sets, 40-minute sets at most, so we'd rather play 8 songs than 4.
Then
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Sure. Do you guys ever write together, or is it mostly on your own?
It's mostly on our own, and then we come together and as we practice, we kind of change things up, and Adam adds his parts and Glenn adds his parts, and the more we play the song, the more everyone's input kind of becomes exactly
Yeah.
it becomes incorporated into the song.
For sure.
How controlling are you in terms of arrangement?
He's been really good.
I don't know. I'll let you guys.
Yeah,
let
he's
Adam answer that.
he's quite open to stuff.
Terrible.
No
No, I'm
dictatorship.
just kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah,
we're,
no-
we're all easy to work with, right?
Yeah.
It's really smooth process, which is nice, right? We're all willing to entertain each other's opinions and ideas on how we think the song should go, and try it. And if it doesn't work,
Did you guys always have an open attitude like that, or did it take being in a few bands to have that sort of open?
for me as a drummer, I always had that open mind, just because working with people, you have to
Yeah.
listen to how they wrote the song,
For
because
sure.
90% of the time I'm not writing the song.
Yeah.
I'm complimenting it, or adding some sugar to it, right?
It's I'd say it's a
bit of drum
foundation
sugar.
with sugar, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Sugar drum better.
Sugar drum.
Sugar's not the first word that came to my mind. But and what about you, Glenn? When you get he brings a groove, and I guess you've worked with a lot of different players and songwriters. You get a basic groove, a basic melody, and you freelance over top of that. Well, how does that work for you?
Well, in the past, I basically, with the songwriter, I try to be respectful of what they've done, and I'll ask, what about this or that? I'm not just going to come in and start blowing stuff
So you're
all
going
over.
to check, what are you trying for here? What are you looking for here?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to. I don't come out to play with a band for the sake of hearing myself play. I want to get into what they're doing. I like to ask, okay, what's the key? The key signature. What kind of a mood do you want, or stuff like that? Or we try different things until they say yeah.
Right.
I like you said mood too. That's a really cool way of approaching a song.
Yeah,
versus what notes are you playing?
Music's mostly emotion.
Yeah.
A little bit of technique, but it's got to be the emotion. You can be an incredible technical player, but you can hear nothing in the notes.
Feel.
And then you can be like Neil Young and play one freaking note, the Cinnamon Girl, and that says more than Yngwie's said in 10 or 12 albums. So that's how I look at it, right? Yeah.
So you're talking about just going, "Ging."
Yeah, but it's the emotion behind it and what he was feeling, right? It's not like he didn't do that just to say, I'm going to just tick off the audience and play one note. Well, he did that on Weld, of course, but that was a record company thing. But, it's you don't need, you play to the song, not to yourself. That's how it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah.
You got to find something that's part of the song that works with it, not saying, I got this great solo, I can't wait to shred it over something we're playing. Let's do this. I don't sit at home and try to play like technique. I try to listen to the song and hopefully do something that works. And more often than not, I'm trying to throw stuff away, and the guys are saying, no, that's good. So I'm a terrible editor when it comes to me, and that's why I don't have many songs written and ready to go, because I erase everything, darn it. Yeah.
Do you spend time on that, though?
I've got a studio at home, and I've done over the years, and I've completed a few things that I'm good with, but once again, I like to collaborate because I really need somebody to tell me if my ideas are crap or not.
It's good to have that, yeah.
It is.
So we listened to a song by you guys 10, 15 minutes ago, Legacy of Destruction. Did you write that one, or was it a Jesse track?
That's a Jesse track.
Nice,
Yeah.
very cool. You guys are releasing an EP on November 24th. For those that are just joining us, they are releasing that at a show in Newmarket. That's at the Grey Goat, November 24th. Is it just going to be the 3 tracks that we have tonight, or is there more in the works?
There's 2 more that will be on that release.
Nice, really cool.
Five
Five in total, correct.
Yay!
See how
Congratulations.
I did that math in
Good
my
for
head?
you, Dave.
You get to keep your driver's
fingers
license.
Drummers can count.
Hooray, you can vote.
Kidding.
We are in a
Yay.
school, and I have done math correctly.
Way to go. Do you guys have a name for the EP?
I think it's just going to be called Razorbath.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we played a house show this weekend, which was a ton of fun. Both of
Yeah,
your bands
that
played,
was-
Weekend Jeans.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome.
Razorbath. And one of my favorite parts of the night was hearing how the name came to be.
Oh, yeah.
So can we ask you how the name came to be?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I guess the band started off with I was playing drums, Jesse was on guitar, and it was a bunch of songs that he had written and just wanted to kind of bring them to fruition, I guess. And so it was Jesse on guitar writing, and his girlfriend Haley was on bass, I was on drums, and his friend, our friend Bob McCulley was playing lead guitar. But it didn't really work out, I guess. Like there was just some like scheduling conflicts and stuff like that. So it ended up like basically come over the last year just into the form it is now. Mm-hmm. So anyway, the name came up when we were still those 4 people, and I guess like over a couple of practices we were just trying to come up with just the grossest, like disgusting, violent thing we could. Or
We probably can't hear some of the examples.
well, I mean, they're not really that bad. Just anyway, we're sitting around Jesse's patio one day, and someone, I can't remember who said this, but someone said broken glass bath. And we were like, yeah, that sounds incredibly horrible. Like I definitely wouldn't want to take a broken glass bath.
No.
But we were just like, it doesn't really have a flow or a ring to it. So then I was just like, how about Razorbath? And they were like, yes. And it went from there.
And here we are.
Yeah.
The name is fantastic.
It is. It's a very good name, actually.
Really, yeah.
Very memorable.
Like
Catches
Led
you off
Zeppelin.
guard. Yeah, it's just as good, right?
And you're right, absolutely
Absolutely.
right. It rolls off the tongue much better than broken glass bath.
Yeah.
Razorbath.
Yeah.
Because you can say Razorbath 5 times fast. But
Can you?
broken glass
For
bath?
sure.
No
Do it.
way. Razorbath, 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 Razorbath.
That's not bad, actually.
But
Do we record that for the album? That's track 6, folks. Track 6.
hidden track. Like silent for like 30 seconds, and then Dave's just gonna scare
just
the
a
crap
mantra.
out of
Honestly, I would be so
Razorbath.
excited to do that. Can we do that? Can we?
it. It's recording right
We
now.
can talk money. We can talk money.
Yeah,
All
there.
right.
How much you can give us?
This is a big dollar.
Dave's paying for the
No, it's-
EP.
I've got $14 on me.
You have less than
Nice.
that. Okay, so let's listen to another song.
Should we?
Yeah, I think we should. It's already almost, geez, 6:28. This
Elijah said
Shut
the
up
boy.
and here's some
time is
music.
flying.
Jeez.
Jeez.
Well,
Well,
we haven't announced the show either. This is ArtsTalk on 102.7 Shop FM. I'm Dave Peters.
I'm Taylor Koss.
And we are in conversation with John, Adam, and Glenn from Razorbath.
Yes, we are missing
We're
Jesse.
missing Jesse. We have 75% of the band.
We miss ya. Feel better.
Is Jesse listening?
I think
Oh,
so.
yeah, absolutely.
Dude.
Hey, Jesse.
Hi, Jesse.
Get a Neocitrin. The drowsy.
Stick a milk of magnesia
Take a Razorbath.
and rub some leather on it.
It'll fix you right up.
Neocitrin and a Razorbath. You'll be
Noni
great.
juice.
Okay, we're gonna go and we're gonna listen to Alive Inside the Void, and we'll be back.
All right.
102.7.
Chop FM. Razorbath with Alive Inside the Void on 102.7 Chop FM. This is ArtsTalk. I'm Dave Peters.
I'm Taylor Koss.
And we are here tonight in conversation with 75% of Razorbath. Adam on drums, John on vocal, and Glenn Hex on shred. And that was some shredding going on there,
yeah,
bro.
I'd say so.
My goodness. When I think of this guy, I think of shredding.
Absolutely.
This gentleman,
Who doesn't?
this gentleman can play the guitar. Can this man and gentleman play the guitar or what?
Go away.
Yep.
Honestly.
It's plenty better, but I look good doing it.
In your heels. In your heels.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
should definitely go see
I'd say,
them.
yeah, the looks is the weak point of it, but other than the skills.
Oh, you're standing on the wrong side. Get behind me.
He's also got some real nice sparkly shoes that sometimes he wears when he's playing. But they will be playing in Newmarket on November 24th. That song, as well as the track that you heard previous, Legacy of Destruction, and another track that you're going to hear later today, that will be included on the EP that they're releasing on November 24th. So make sure you're there.
You definitely want to get out to see these guys. Adam, of course, has been a longtime friend of this show, one of our favorite drummers. And
yes.
a man of high
Absolutely.
skill. Can play fast. Have I ever heard you play slow?
That song.
No, that's
Mad City. Mad City was slow.
Yeah,
Glenn was in
yeah,
Mad City.
that's right.
That's
Glenn was in Mad City too.
true.
Mad City was.
And how come you guys came up here with Mad City and didn't bring Glenn? He was working or something.
I
he
didn't
in
been
the
in there in
band
the
yet?
band.
That was a different time.
Yeah.
I
Dave
don't
and I were
think
just
he
a
joined.
two-piece at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, totally.
So this is kind of an all-star band, really.
I'd
sort of,
say.
right?
Very, very cool.
Inbred.
And I mean, if Jesse was here too, he would talk about some of the bands that he was in
Oh, yeah.
previously too. Like, you guys
Exactly.
have been in the Newmarket punk
He's a
scene.
pillar.
They were in
Scene.
Ship of Fools together.
Yeah, we
these
were,
guys.
yeah.
You were, oh yeah!
No.
I didn't
Yeah,
know you
Jesse
when you were
and
the
John
drummer. You
were,
were
yeah,
the drummer, right?
I was, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know you then. That's crazy. I don't think I knew Jesse either. Yeah, that's wild.
That is wild.
That's
I
so
had no
cool. And
idea.
then, the throwaways. That was.
That was
Jesse's band,
Jesse.
or-
Yep, Jesse and Chris Ensall
Cool.
and a couple other guys from
Yeah.
around here.
Were you in a band back in those days too?
At that time, I was in a band called True Trout.
Right. Okay. That
Yeah.
was the very first punk show I ever went to. Was a True Trout
Oh,
show.
no way.
Yeah, at the Hound and the Heather.
Okay.
Do you remember
wow,
that place
yeah.
in the
Like
Tannery Mall?
where the tannery is.
Yeah.
What year was that? Do you remember?
I was like going into grade 9, so it was 2004 maybe.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I was still in that at that time.
Pretty crazy, right?
Yeah.
Aw, man, going back. That's
Time flies.
fun. That's awesome.
The Newmarket punk scene.
Oh, it's just so cool. And it's still so cool. Like, it's just, I'm really encouraging anyone that's listening to make sure you come out to some of these shows because it's some of the most fun times I've had.
Yeah, there's this great community of friends and musicians
Yeah.
who support it. It's a really cool thing to observe.
It's really cool to be a
Yeah.
part of.
Yeah,
As a
yeah.
band, as an audience member,
Yeah,
all that
and
stuff. So
it's long-standing too. It's like
yeah.
20
This
years.
is- yeah,
or
20 years
so.
ago is
Yeah.
pretty much when. Oh man, how many years ago was that? I don't want to
That
do the
was
math right now.
well. That would have been 14 years
Yeah.
ago.
Peter's math. Now.
Huh?
Come on.
Oh, we need your math.
I think
skills,
Spencer's the like kind of the authority on Newmarket punk history.
Spencer Sleep,
Yes.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
the one and only Spencer
Yeah.
Sleep.
yeah.
One of
'Cause
the
he's
top
old.
fans of ArtsTalk.
He's the elder.
He's listening. Oh no,
Spencer, is he listening?
he's listening at about 6:45. I think he tunes in
Okay.
every Wednesday. Anyways, are you guys playing any other shows other than November 24th in town here?
No, that's our next show.
Cool.
We've played Newmarket, I guess, like, is that the second?
2-3
Twice.
times?
Twice. Wow. Okay. Yeah. We're just trying not to like oversaturate
For sure.
everything, and we wanted to basically, finish the record and then start kind of getting it out there to promoters in other towns, and just in the new year, I think in December we're just going to take a break, and then New Year try to get some shows in like Oshawa, London, Windsor,
Cool.
wherever,
Would you try to like approach a metal crowd sort of thing with your music?
Yeah.
Or yeah?
For sure. I think it fits pretty well
Totally.
with both. Like that's the crossover
Yeah.
label, I guess, like crossover thrash. So it's like it's got elements of metal, but it's also got elements of punk, and I think there's even other, we could also appeal to other genres
For
too.
sure.
So
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, pretty much anything we can get.
Yeah, like all things alternative.
Yeah.
How do you tap into that? Is there a place to go, say certain promoters who specialize in that particular...
That's what I was gonna ask
that
too. Yeah,
niche?
no, like the metal crowd.
Yeah, there are some
How to
local.
find yourself
yeah.
in front of the right crowd.
Well, Toronto-wise, yes, there are certain groups that
There's certain
promote for that,
promoters. Yeah. That seem to have like a crowd that
Yeah.
goes with them. And
I'm more like I like I said before, just I've been playing in punk bands mostly, so I know a few people that promote shows in those towns, like punk shows, but they'll put metal bands, hardcore bands, or even alternative bands on their shows.
For sure.
Because I think all of those, especially now, like there was a time when like all those genres were maybe kind of like rivals, but now in 2018, I think it's really all underground and it's all the same. So like they might theme a show after a certain genre, but like promoters and fans will come out or
Everyone's
promote
pretty
shows that are
supportive, yeah.
in
More
all
about
of
the
these.
community, right?
Totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's
absolutely.
about underground independent music.
Absolutely,
That's
yeah.
what it is. So.
Something I've seen just recently though is there's a whole metal crowd. Like I don't know what in other places, in other towns, I'm sure it's kind of similar. Where like Newmarket had a metal show, and it was kind of this. It was a big crowd, but a bunch of people I've never seen before. Like they just kind of came out of nowhere.
That's
So
the big thing about metal.
it's
You
cool.
don't know how huge it is
It's
unless
true.
you're part of
Yeah.
it. I
Absolutely.
took my friend Max to see Slayer, and he had no clue metal was that huge.
Right?
Again,
Everyone was
and I
at
said,
that
yeah,
show.
it's probably the biggest form of music out there that gets zero media support.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
It's completely underground,
Just have
word
it
of
like
mouth.
it.
It never gets played on radios.
Yeah.
And it's stronger than ever.
Yeah.
So, people that are into that kind of music, just good music in general,
Yeah.
they go looking for it
Yeah.
too. Right?
It's really cool. I really
I
like
guess
that
that's
about
kind
it.
of always been true, and Europe's always been renowned as being a place where there is a bigger, more out there metal scene. Germany,
Yeah.
so the Netherlands, where
Like in the mainstream, you mean, or?
Well, yeah,
Well,
like
yeah.
it's more.
You look at bands like Entombed. They worked with the National Orchestra from what
That's
country
wild.
are they from? I hate to say, they're from In Flames Swedish. Yeah, so they worked with the Swedish National Orchestra and Ballet, and they did an
That's
award-winning
crazy.
show. And they are like a brutal death metal band. It's it's mainstream over there. People in Norway all know about black metal because it's such a big part of everything that happens there. So yeah, in
Black
Europe
metal's
it's a lot more
interesting to
aware
me,
of it.
'cause the doom metal I think is very interesting because it's so slow. I
You
think
know
it's
what? An
super
offshoot of
cool.
Sabbath had a baby, and that baby grew into a monster.
right?
Yeah, it's great
But
stuff.
black metal's
Candlemass
interesting
and-
because
yeah.
it has all of the speed and the shredding and everything, but it also has dynamics. It's also very
Well, it
interested in
depends.
melody.
The pure black metal is usually pretty
Low,
I'm
it's
thinking-
intentionally lo-fi.
Yeah, lo-fi,
too.
and you know what? I used to joke
Oh.
about this with my last band, and as a matter of fact, we even wrote an instrumental based on the whole black metal thing. That, okay, you turkeys are making these crap records with no bass. I think Satan's got a kick butt stereo system.
Yeah.
All right,
You're a
so I
disappointing
think you know
Satan.
what? That dude is going like the Miley Cyrus album sounds better than you jerks. And I would hate to hear that new
But I'm
Burzum
thinking,
album with no
my
bass.
first exposure to death metal, if you call it, was Death Heaven. Would you call Death Heaven?
Death Heaven are considered to be a black metal type of band, but they're also not purist black metal, right?
Oh, yeah. 'cause
They're like
they
My
were
Bloody
criticized. They were
Valentine meets
criticized.
black metal, right?
Really?
Yeah,
My Bloody
people that are
Valentine?
yeah, that's what I consider because My Bloody Valentine was very interesting with their guitar type tones.
Oh,
They weren't a
okay.
metal band, but they had really interesting guitar sounds.
Yeah, yeah.
And Death Heaven does that. Right?
Crazy
They
cool.
do some really interesting sound, but the black metal thing over top. But if you're a purist in black metal, you're not into them or Knockmistium or other bands that take a little more progressive approach or mix a little bit better.
I think isn't Emperor. I think their newer stuff is more like better produced.
Everybody's getting better
Immortal,
produced, yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly. I mean, Dimmu Borgir
'Cause
is
it's-
like mainstream.
I
almost.
can't. I don't know. I can't listen to like. I appreciate the sentiment behind, just intentionally making lo-fi and accessible records, but I can't sit down and listen to it.
No, it's
'cause
unbearable.
It's boring.
It sounds like hell.
You want it to sound good.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I don't think
why
that makes
not
it that
overproduced.
bad, right?
Yeah.
Not have it overproduced,
sure.
but just have
It's got to kick
a
in. the
big.
gut.
You want to have a whole sonic range. Otherwise, what's the point? Like even if you don't have a whole sonic range, you're not even reproducing your live show
Right.
because you can't
Yeah.
like take that out in a live show unless I guess you turn all your bass
Death
down
metal
on
pedal is
everything.
just a band
and-
pass
Sounds like a
filter. Yeah,
Sad show.
exactly. It would be a terrible thing to attend.
It
Dogs
would.
for Miles would come
It'd be
around.
brutal. And we make an exception for the stuff that was recorded in the 40s and 50s and 60s that sounds thin and tinny.
Even the 80s,
Because it does, yeah.
because
even
metal
the
bands
80s,
didn't
so-
have the resources to
Right.
do good recordings, but now everyone does. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
or most people, I guess.
So a fat bottom end is just good. Like, why would you want to have that? Why wouldn't you want to hear the kick drum go thud?
Right.
Right?
Feel it in your chest.
Yeah, rattle your internal organs a little bit.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of energy you got to transfer into that music to make it to make it viable. And I go to a metal show because I want to feel that power, just like a hardcore show. I want to feel that power coming off the stage.
Yeah.
And it's cathartic. And you know, people don't go out and start fights after those kinds of shows because you leave it all in the club, right?
Yeah.
It's about getting in there, raging, and getting everything out, and then you get out and you're not in the mood to go punching and kicking and killing.
No, like everyone kind of just related to this.
But yeah, and unfortunately, you know, some of the big hip hop shows, they're just not getting rid of enough energy. They got to go out and shoot each other.
Oh gosh.
These kids need an activity. All right, they need an activity.
Although they're similar in their history, where hip hop hasn't had a lot of radio play either, and is massive. And metal is the same way, right? There's very little, with the exception of hair metal, I guess, and Poison and bands of that kind of that have.
Well, metal never blew up the way that hip hop did, though.
No, and metal hasn't infiltrated other genres the way that hip hop has, right? Like hip hop is now in country music, and it's in all pop music and everything else. Where metal is more of a thinner niche.
I would argue that.
Yeah, I think I would too.
Metal
Yeah.
of every genre. I've heard polka metal. I've heard traditional Celtic metal. I've
but
heard
in the
folk
public,
metal.
like, or like more in like.
Oh, certainly not in the public.
Is that what you mean, or no? That's what I thought you meant.
Polka metal.
You know what? Listen to Thin Troll. Thin Troll.
Yes.
They are a band from
Yes,
Finland,
I love
and
that
they
band.
started out as a bit of a joke, but they're basically, they call it oompa metal, like oompa, 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 polka. Yeah, look, do yourself a favor, download some Thin Troll and check it out. It's black metal polka.
Black metal polka.
Yep.
I wasn't thinking so much of black metal polka. I was thinking about.
First thing
I
I
don't
think
think.
of.
Could you cite me an example where metal has crept into pop music?
I
for
would
example?
say, well, this is my take on that. I think, you know, back in the 80s, when you say you have mainstream bands now, like Nickelback, and they're kind of those, you know, that genre, Theory of a Dead Man, whatever, they use guitar tones and like production that back in the 80s would have been like, it's more like that than it is like pop back then, you know what I mean? It's almost as if with, I guess, the amplification and like the sound of metal, like it was incorporated into more mainstream sounding songs with mainstream vocals, production, and song structures, but it has that sort of like tonal quality that was pioneered by metal like in the 80s, and now it's become just
Crunchy
like it's so exactly it's just
dominant drums
and it's so accepted now as that people don't even think about it, like, but back then it would have been like, whoa, like these guitars are so weird, like why does this sound like this? But now it's just, it's the norm.
You forget that it's
It's rock.
It's
Yeah,
rock.
exactly.
It's like hard rock,
Maybe that's the thing, is that the metal label gets a little fuzzy about.
Not enough credit or
You
something.
think of bands like
I didn't even
Showcore.
think
Remember,
about
they were
that.
fairly popular with Bonecracker now, and that was a very metallic type of production, but certainly not a pure metal band. But it was pretty popular.
So
And, you know,
you're kind of a student of this, Glenn. Where do you draw the line between metal and hard rock, for example? Like that's a blurry line for me,
I
right?
don't draw a line because I don't care. It's whether I like it or not, really.
Nice.
You know. It's really hard to say what is hard rock and heavy metal. It could be as little difference as somebody screaming instead of singing, and even one line. So I don't really care. I prefer not to label it, because a lot of times you will not hear a band because they were labeled as something that you assume is something you don't want to hear.
Right.
So I don't put a line there, okay? There's room in a metal song to have a country guitar part if it needs it, or room to have like harps or whatever it needs. I mean, metal
But
can
never
use
banjo.
anything.
Would you agree? Never banjo.
Have you, dude?
I
look
love
up
the
Slayer,
bluegrass metal,
banjo.
the
Look up Rain and Blood.
I'm telling you, go check
Metal
it out.
banjo?
Yeah,
Oh,
go
you
on
have to check
YouTube.
it
All
out.
metal.
Yeah.
Slayer
I
cover
wanna
and
do
this
a
guy
band like that.
rages. You check
promise
it
you
out.
that.
No.
I
Yeah.
would love to. Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, it works, brother. It
I
works.
love this conversation. Yeah.
Metal
Dave is getting
banjo.
Yeah.
blown away.
Mind
Yeah. Metal, bluegrass metal. It's amazing.
Yes.
That is the best thing I've ever heard.
You guys are
Glenn, we're doing it, buddy. Okay, great. Hurry up before somebody else gets an album out.
Taylor, we have to find a metal banjo act to bring on this show.
We can figure it out.
Give us a couple months.
We'll figure it out. Okay. I know a banjo player if you guys want to come together with that.
Okay,
All
metal.
you gotta do is scream over top of it, and it's metal.
Okay.
We're in. Okay.
We could make this
John.
happen, probably.
Razorbath's gonna have a banjo player.
I'm thinking John's already, the wheels are turning.
And we're doing accordion through Marshall Stacks.
Can I play
That's
the accordion?
awesome.
I wish I could play accordion. That's so cool.
So we're all victims of the stuff that's hardwired in us about the music that we grew up with, and all this sort of stuff. So do you label what you do? Are you thinking of what you do in terms of the type of music that it is?
I think it's just my influences coming out from growing up playing and developing different skills and influences, right? And that just comes out when we're presented with stuff, right?
The things you go to.
Yeah.
And do you find this where you hear a song and you go, wow, I didn't realize I've been ripping off that Phil forever.
Well, I gotta admit, coming to the band, I found out I listened to the songs that they wrote, and I loved them all because in each song I heard elements of stuff I grew up with and loved, like Carcass, or a little bit of Voivod or stuff like that. And sometimes these guys weren't even conscious of that influence. You hadn't heard Carcass at the time, and then you heard it and said, "Oh wow, it does sound like it."
I almost ripped that song.
But that's awesome. Nothing is.
So you had never heard that song?
Never.
It was just
No.
But it was very similar. But I just mean it's just coming from the same place, then, really, right? You know, so that you can inadvertently.
I think it all
sound
comes
like
from.
someone.
It's kind of all coming down like a sort of family tree, if you will. Like one of the biggest metal bands I listen to is High on Fire, and like that guy's been playing. I don't know if he was in a band called Sleep in the '90s, and basically is an older guy that writes these songs. So he's probably drawing on these older bands, and then it's like, well, I'm a bit younger, so I may not have heard some of the older ones, but I hear the influence coming down through other artists, right? So I think it just all the cool things sort of like there's people that are pioneers, and then people that kind of take those cool elements that the pioneers came up with, and they throw it all together, and they just make something completely incredible, and they keep influencing future generations, which I think is super cool.
It is, and it's this concept of standing on the shoulders of those who
Exactly.
came before you,
Yeah.
which is so cool, and is really what everything is built on. But I love the fact that it sneaks in sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like sometimes you
It's true.
overtly rip somebody off because I want to play that riff, but sometimes you're surprised by the influence it's had on how you play,
Totally.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's kind of interesting, and you don't label yourself. And you know what? The people who love your music, I think they pick that up too, right? They hear the little Voivod in there. They might even realize it themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're picking that up too.
Kovacs is really into the 80s stuff too. Like he loves Voivod and like Sacrifice and like all the big four metal bands from the States as well. And like he blatantly says like, yeah, like I made this part to sound like this, which is cool. So he's channeling more of like a direct influence, I guess, but
An homage, right?
yeah, exactly.
Pay my respects.
For sure.
sure.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And so he's gotten me into some bands, and all of us into some stuff, and like I've gotten him into a couple newer bands too. So
It's a credit to you guys and your skill that you can make this happen, right? Because it's all well and good to like it and admire it, but it's another thing to be able to create something yourself that matches it. you know?
Yeah, and that sticks and that keeps going, and
We're just in
makes
it for the
people-
money.
Yeah.
Really.
How's
I mean,
that going?
swimming in it. Swimming in it. I'm getting a rash from all the
Sign
nickels.
check later. Yeah. All the nickels.
Bruises.
just throwing it
Ow.
in his face.
So,
Stop throwing
Back
nickel.
to sorry, just going back to like I guess labeling it or whatever. Like I don't really care to do that, but I think you have to accept I don't like the idea of personal brands, and it's funny when I talk to younger musicians, like they're very, very, very conscious of like developing a personal brand, and I'm just like, I don't care, just like do what you think, do what you like, and the people will sense the authenticity and the passion that's in it. But with that said, you do have to also like, because there's so many artists out there, so much music out there, you do have to kind of narrow it down for people and be like, okay, here's an idea of what we sound like, and maybe that'll encourage you to give us a listen. So you can't just say, well, we're just whatever we want to be. We have to say like, okay, well, we have these influences or these influences, so that at least people can decide for themselves whether it's worth their time, because you know everyone's busy and there's so much art out there. So
yeah. It's a good time to be an artist because it's easy to get your music out there, but there's a lot of music to compete
But it's a
with.
horrible time to be an artist.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't
There's
pay
no
dividends
money.
anymore.
Yeah.
Trying to monetize
You have to
the
be
right stuff.
passionate because you're not going to survive on it.
It's going to be hard to get paid. Although I've been rereading a book by Dave Bedini, who's in Rio Statics, called On a Cold Road, about the same kind of thing. And it's you could have written it today. It's hard to make a living as a musician in Canada. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And even guys like you who play in a bunch of bands and could have a bunch of different revenue sources from those bands, it's just
we can play
Like
until we have no
revenue,
money.
like
Yeah, that's
expenses.
great.
yeah, more expenses.
I look at somebody says you want to join the band. It's like I can't afford it. I really can't.
That's actually a true point when you get to a few bands, because
Yeah.
it's like I gotta travel to go to this band and
Yeah.
back
And
and go to work the next day.
More
and-
times you have to book off work,
Right?
more like maintenance of your
Yeah.
instruments.
There's
Your
only 2
grandma
days
can
a
only die
weekend,
a couple times, and you can't use that excuse anymore, right? Like,
That's why you do it, because you love it.
It's
Yeah.
so true, and
Well,
it's
that's
really
right.
important to find the
It's
right
a
people.
hobby.
We
Yeah.
stopped asking people whether they had day jobs because
Everyone has a day job.
Absolutely.
Even,
well,
like,
if they got
famous
here,
people.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
if they had a car,
That's true.
then yes, they have a day
The
job.
one guest or two that canceled probably didn't have a day job.
Right.
Couldn't
They're
get
the
here.
true artists,
Yeah.
the ones that can't even afford a radio to hear
Oh
the show.
man,
It's sad.
I was just saying that's kind of sad.
No, not
Anyways.
but not to get mushy, but it is. It's
We
what's,
got mushy.
What's beautiful about it is that everybody that we have through here is doing it because they love doing
Yes.
it.
That's right.
That's
They really
important.
love doing it. So we admire that, and we think it's awesome.
Yeah, totally. So, if people want to find you guys, how can they do that? Online.
We
shows,
have
everything?
a Facebook and a Instagram, which Jesse takes care of. He's pretty good with responding to people and
good.
like
Keeping things up to date.
keeping things updated with what we're doing.
Sweet. Is it just Razorbath, one
Um,
word?
Yeah, I don't know what the address is exactly, but if you search Razorbath, it'll definitely come up.
It
So
definitely will,
yeah.
yeah.
How many of them could there be?
Right.
It's
Yeah.
so
Well,
true.
you're guaranteed a couple entertaining images at least.
Yeah,
Oh my
don't
Lord.
Google image that.
Search
Glenn.
Facebook first.
Don't
yeah.
click on that site from Taiwan.
Glenn, don't say.
Be
don't
sure
say anything
before
more.
you click. Be sure before you
Okay, so we are just about out of time. We are going to listen to one more song from Razorbath coming up on their upcoming EP.
EP,
Yes, going to be released on November 24th.
and with no name. We don't have a name for these.
Razorbath.
Razorbath
Self-titled.
Oh,
EP.
just Razorbath.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
it. It was good. I
That's
like it.
pretty solid.
It's a bit boring, but
It's not boring.
Well, we were going to go with Paul.
broken
Yeah.
You're just getting like used to the idea of a Razorbath.
Well, we were going to call it Dave Peters, but
awesome name.
the funny thing is, they couldn't figure out where they'd file that.
Or could have been Broken Glass. It's not a bad title.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Right, so we're going to have this tune that's on the upcoming EP. When the EP launches, which is when?
The 24th of November
24th?
at the Goat.
At
Yes.
the Go. All right. What else do we need to know? That's it?
I think that's it for now.
Do we
But
have a show
make
next
sure, yeah, we have a show next week. Make sure you follow Razorbath. Make sure you come to that show because
Yeah.
they have a lot of cool things in store. So,
Really?
yeah.
Do you have swag? Do you have a Razorbath t-shirt?
Ooh.
Magic tricks.
We're working on
I
t-shirts.
would
Nice.
love to have a
Cool.
Razorbath t-shirt.
Yeah.
Do you have a Razorbath logo?
Yes.
We got
Do
some
you?
really cool stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the
The
logo.
logo's the coolest thing about this band.
The reason I
So
joined,
often true.
showed me a picture. I'm like, yeah.
And it was Chris Antal that made the logo for you, right?
That's
Or-
John.
I made it.
Oh, you made
and
it.
We
I'm
got
sorry.
Chris's. No, it's all good.
I thought that he made something.
No,
No.
I designed it. Chris is a graphic designer, so he cleaned it up and made it look pro.
Oh, okay,
so,
gotcha.
Yeah,
I'm
he's,
Very
excited.
nice. Well,
yeah, awesome guy.
Do I have to go to the show to get one?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I'll
have
go
to
to
go.
Right.
November 20th.
So, yeah.
24th.
24th.
You can wait 4 days.
Yeah. You should
I'll
wait
line
at
up.
the
I'm gonna
door.
Start lining up.
Bring a sleeping
4
bag.
days.
Get a copy of that limited.
It'll look
edition
really
EP.
good. We could call the news and be like, there's someone camping out for Razorbath.
Exactly.
He's waiting for an XL because there's only ever one XL.
I'm already going to
right.
get it.
What's wrong with
I
you
want
people?
it.
Get more XLs. Fat people like your music
Noted.
too.
You don't even have to be fat to wear an XL. It's just comfy.
Yeah, you just like wearing just a shirt and nothing around the house because you're saucy.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Covering the important bits.
My new thing. Okay, so anyways, this was Razorbath. We love them. Thank you guys for coming on the show.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us.
Yeah,
Happy
anytime.
Halloween.
Guys,
Please come
awesome.
back later in the year. Maybe next Halloween you can come back.
Yeah, we'll do a tradition.
Make sure you tune in next Wednesday. We have a special guest who is my brother, actually, Zachary Kennedy.
Zachary
He
Kennedy.
is he's like 15. He's just starting out, songwriter, recording at home, doing all that good
Gonna
stuff.
be huge.
He's gonna be huge, yeah.
2 words. Justin Bieber.
Yeah, he's the new Justin Bieber of
The new
Barrie. So yeah,
Let's
tune
not
in.
kid ourselves.
Tune in next Wednesday at 6 p.m. To hear us with Zachary Kennedy. We are going to take you out of here with a little bit more of Razorbath, followed by some Ship of Fools, Die Sci-Fi, Heavy Petter, and probably a whole lot more good music.
A
So
whole lot of
don't
indie rock that
change
you've
it.
never heard before except here.
Except for last Wednesday.
Because
And
this
the
is
Wednesday
Arts
before
Talk
that. Yeah.
on
102.7.
Chop FM.
investment into everything. Never great and never good. It's what we love to do it all. We fight, we run, we die. We're living by the sword. We rise, we die. We're living by the sword.